The United States Army soldier. His nation abhors war, and yet he has not been allowed to lower his guard or relax his vigil for a quarter of a century. In the short span of 25 years, he fought and helped win the world's largest war. He has answered his country's call repeatedly in an age of incredibly complex challenges that defy the simple solutions of the past.
Воробьи на крышах чирикают, что самое
The United States Army soldier. The 1960s have brought him here to South Vietnam.
Okay, move out.
Here in Vietnam, he fights a war unlike past wars. A war alien to the direct, total military action of World War II, lacking the clear front lines of Korea. A war distinctly a product of its own complicated age. A war that probes new depths while simultaneously it remains within restricted dimensions. But the soldiers serving in Vietnam spend little time analyzing the war, for they are too busy fighting it. They are primarily concerned with the fact that their country faces a challenge. They recognize that it is their duty to help meet that challenge. They are supported by the army in which they serve, and that support has been underlined by excellence. Though proven army methods are valid in Vietnam, a continuing process of refinement has also been taking place. Innovations have been made, innovations molded from experience against a particular enemy in a particular war on a particular terrain. The Army has taken many forward steps to conduct operations more effectively in Southeast Asia and to give its soldiers the finest possible support. This war makes unique demands upon the military, but every challenge has also served to polish the Army's professional skills and increase its combat power. The Army worldwide is benefiting from lessons learned in Vietnam, for even as this conflict tests the steel, it sharpens the edge. You are looking at an instructor who knows the war in Vietnam from first-hand experience. He is a combat veteran. He knows the terrain, the enemy, the demands made upon the soldier who serves in Vietnam. His knowledge is of tremendous value, and the Army invests it wisely to prepare others for service in Vietnam. Combat veterans serving as instructors in Army schools and training centers are an integral part of the feedback approach used in all Vietnam-oriented training. It is training based on what is happening in Vietnam, built around a steady feedback of battlefield lessons learned, incorporating newly adopted tactical innovations. Training innovations are constantly being introduced. For instance, the fighting in Vietnam is often at very close range with no time for aimed fire. The individual soldier must be able to beat the enemy to the draw. To train soldiers to shoot faster and straighter, the quick kill technique, a system of fast, unaimed, instinct shooting, has been developed and integrated into basic rifle marksmanship courses at all Army training centers conducting basic combat training. Quick kill is based on a simple phenomenon. When you point your finger at an object in your line of sight, it will align itself on the point of focus of your eyes with no conscious effort on your part. In quick kill, the rifle becomes an extension of the pointed finger, much like the six-shooter of the old-time Western gunfighter. Training starts with BB guns without sights against aluminum discs thrown into the air. Trainees are amazed to find that within a few minutes they are scoring 8 out of 10 times. After progressing to smaller aerial targets, the student switches to ground targets. Next come larger targets at greater ranges using standard rifles. Soldiers scheduled for assignment to Vietnam receive additional training with the M16 rifle. Special training and preparation for service in Vietnam is not just for the new soldier. For senior combat arms NCOs who have served for extended periods of time in non-combat arms assignments, a 2-week refresher course was established in mid-1967 at Fort Riley, Kansas. It provides Vietnam-bound NCOs with refresher training in leadership, tactics, weapons, map reading, and other subjects important to their overseas assignments, and it is pointed to the specific requirements of the Vietnam War. The newly established Infantry NCO Candidate Course at Fort Benning, Georgia, is providing skilled junior leaders needed to maintain the 12-month tour in Vietnam and to achieve the objective of a minimum of 25 months between successive tours in that country. At this school, which is similar to Army officer candidate schools, outstanding graduates of infantry advanced individual training are given 12 weeks of additional intensive training. Similar courses have been established for armor, artillery, and certain combat support skills. The Army spares no effort to ensure that each man going to Vietnam receives the best and most up-to-date training possible. After arrival, he also receives approximately 10 days of intensive pre-combat training with his unit. This is followed by periodic refresher training throughout his stay in Vietnam. Here, in actual combat operations, our soldiers provide dramatic proof that Army training is meeting the demands of the war, that it is teaching the soldier what to expect, what to look for, what to do, and how to react. In addition to teaching him standard U.S. tactics and procedures, it is providing him with the specialized knowledge and skills needed in Vietnam. Two fundamental tasks face the soldier in Vietnam. His primary job is to engage the enemy, but he is also deeply involved in processes that are building a nation. To this second task, he brings his natural friendliness and his traditional willingness to help others. Both tasks have demanded originality of the soldier and of the Army that supports him. The first step in engaging the enemy is to find him, and in Vietnam this is usually not easy. Yet the speed and fluidity of combat operations demand rapid information about the enemy. Here is an area where innovations, both in techniques and hardware, are paying off. The enemy is being located quicker and with more accuracy, and the forces needing this information are receiving it faster. One such innovation being used operationally